So the prospect of U.S. involvement in the conflict between Israel and Iran is dividing the MAGA base. President Trump's two-week negotiating window announced after a visit to the White House from former advisor Steve Bannon. A source tells CNN he had lunch with the president. Bannon has repeatedly warned Trump not to join Israel's military campaign against Iran. He's not alone. Some of the loudest voices in conservative media now taking sides.
I can tell you right now, our MAGA base does not want a war at all whatsoever. They do not want U.S. involvement. They do not want the United States to be engaged in this.
This is a country that tried to assassinate our president. You know, in the good old days, that would be enough to blow them off the face of the earth. They tried twice. We haven't done anything.
I think it's going to happen. I don't, who cares what I think?
Do you think we're going to join in the
Yes,
combat,
I do.
offensive combat operation? Well, we can't assume
But
that
these
we have
things
to
are
stop
never
that.
The group chat is back. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is not because the internet loves watching a good fight, although that is clearly what is happening, but because the president is known for, this is the reporting, kind of whoever's last in his ear kind of having, do you agree, kind of having not the last say, but certainly influence. So every lunch, every tweet, every conversation is going to be reported. Rob, how are you seeing how this is playing out?
Sure. The president pays close attention to all those voices we just heard, plus Tucker Carlson and others who've talked to him just within the last few days.
But he was dismissive of Carlson, and Carlson had to, apologize. So clearly, he said, America first is what I say it is. So that's what I'm trying to interpret. Do you see a president listening to this stuff? Or saying, let the grown-ups talk?
Yeah, I think no matter what issue you're talking about, Audie, President Trump is listening to those particular voices because he recognizes that's who the MAGA base is getting their news and information from. So he has to keep in touch with them. I think at the end of the day, though, this president is going to base his decisions on the national security advisors and the intel that he gets on the Middle East, probably not somebody who's broadcasting on a podcast platform.
No, Lulu doesn't know. Okay, maybe, look, let me play.
Maybe, I don't know. Listen, I fully don't know who the president listens to, but what is instructive, for example, is what happened over immigration. And I'm using this for a reason, not to just veer it away from the Middle East. But, we had a situation where you had the Secretary of Agriculture saying this is going to be a problem, getting rid of workers. It's going to affect our food supply. Immigrant workers provide a lot of America's food. True. Hotels, of which Trump has, et cetera, et cetera. Please don't deport these people. Trump listens to her, tweets it out, says we're not going to be touching these people again. And then I guess Stephen Miller gets in his ear. And then sort of 48 hours later, it's like, actually, no problem. Go after these people wherever they are. And so what this shows is not only are the heads of the departments in the United States government really having no sovereignty over what is actually being implemented. This is all being run out of the White House. But Donald Trump changes his mind all the time, so it's very difficult to know what he's going to do.
Okay, and then meanwhile, for Democrats, here is how this is being talked about. I want to give you an example, starting with Senator John Fetterman.
I think I was maybe the only one that said we really have to fully support him taking out Iran at this point. We can't ever allow Iran to develop a nuclear weapon.
What is really the agenda with Netanyahu is to go beyond that and get us involved in a regime change war with Iran, and I adamantly oppose that.
This is an opportunity for the Democratic Party to be the anti-war party again.
During the Bush era, Democrats established themselves as being like anti those wars in the Middle East. Yeah. You also had, obviously, with the campus protest, a sort of renewed conversation about Israel. What do you see in how Democrats are talking about this?
Yeah, I think there is a bit of consensus here that we do not want to get dragged into a larger war. And Israel, certainly, as you know, we are Israel's closest, one of Israel's closest allies. Israel is going to use this moment to say to the United States, look, Iran is severely economically and militarily weakened. This is the time to strike. But is it really? Because then what happens next? What happens to that nuclear facility if you don't damage it? What happens if you actually do need boots on the ground to put explosives to actually further, destroy the Fordo facility?
So are you seeing the horseshoe politics here where bipartisan, there is a group in each wing asking those questions?
I think what Democrats are asking is what's actually the plan? Because there does not seem to be a plan. There certainly is not a plan in Gaza. In Lebanon, there is a ceasefire holding. And I think Democrats want to say or want to know, if the United States does join Israel in these strikes, what comes next? Because Israel is clearly not going to stop unless there is a diplomatic off-ramp.
And here's where I think those arguments in the MAGA wing, right, they sound very similar.
Yes, and there are, I mean, from Tucker Carlson's perspective, he sees what's happened over the course of decades and the migrant crisis in Europe, and then you have Steve Bannon who's saying this is a distraction from what Trump needs to accomplish here domestically at home, particularly with deportations if we're distracted. So there are a whole number of factors, and I think you hit a good point, Sabrina. I mean, conservatives criticize the Biden administration for a lack of a plan for Afghanistan, right? And so I think that it's justifiable to say we need to make sure that if we're going to do this, we know what the outcome is going to be. And there's a lot of unknowns if that regime were to fall in Iran.
Okay, people are obviously asking many more questions. Group chat, stay with me. We're going to talk a little bit more about this